I've had a great request. Um, the topic was, in fact, I think I'm just going to read that topic rather than tell you about it. Just a second here. The topic is death, but not just that. Let's just see here. Got it. So the request was, I would love to request a group release on the fear of death, including the fear of painful death and the fear of violent, cruel death, as in Gaza, Ukraine, Auschwitz, etc. Well, that's quite a request. Was super inspired this morning by a YouTube video of Lester Levinson, the founder of the Sedona method. Just a second. Talking about the fear of death being the root fear driving all the primary wants and therefore a powerful gateway to freedom. I looked around for that quote from Lester Levinson. I couldn't find it. But I did find another favorite quote of mine by Carlos Castaneda, which is this: death is the only wise advisor that a warrior has. Whenever he feels that everything is going wrong and he's about to be annihilated, he can turn to his death and ask if that is so. His death will tell him that he is wrong, that nothing really matters outside outside its. His death will tell him, I haven't touched you yet. So that's the sense of this group release, is the appreciation of death. I'll give one more personal anecdote before we get into the group release. One of the most profound experiences I had was witnessing the birth of my daughter. And it was profound in part because of the realization that I had at that moment that life enters the room. Death is also present. I had no idea. Of course, during the birth process, the woman's body is under extreme stress. If the child doesn't leave the body, the result is death. That's something that we've witnessed historically throughout the millennia. Very often we think of a young man's greatest challenge as going into battle. Perhaps a woman's is to give birth. But it's that same sense that at the moment that life enters, death is also present. And I would turn that around. I would say that in a certain way, death is also an incredibly important part of life. And that's what Carlos Castaneda is pointing to, is that appreciation of our mortality is what gives life meaning. So that's probably enough talk on my part. I invite you just to go, just to allow everything to be as it is, just for this moment. Take a deep breath and come to rest. It's a heavy topic, but let's get into it. Just allow yourself to imagine death, the end of all that you know. And just to intensify this a little bit, imagine it being horrible. There's no guarantee that it's going to be painless or even quick. So how would it feel to starve to death in Gaza? How would it feel to march towards the gas chamber? How would it feel to face a bullet in Ukraine? That whining sound of the drones overhead. What would it feel? That moment of death. Allow yourself to contemplate that for a moment longer. Allow the stories, the memories, the thoughts. Notice any reactions in the body. The body is especially important in the response. Notice how the heart responds, the core of the body from the throat down to the groin. Notice any uncomfortable feeling, any tension. Just as best you can, allow it to be like. And then check. Would you like to change this? Would you like to make this go away? Notice any resistance to that thought. Those who joined us a little late, we're releasing on that topic of death. As horrible, as gruesome as it might actually end up being. And just check and see, do you want to change that? Do you want to not die or not have to feel that? Whatever is present, just notice any kind of rejection, pushing away, not wanting, or even the opposite, any kind of holding on. And then check and see, is there any sense that this is personal? That sense that there's a you who will come to an. Does this feel personal? Because of course it does. And then when you're ready, could you let that go? Is this possible? Yes or no, either one is okay. Would you let this go? Are you willing? And when? So let's double back to the beginning. We're releasing on the topic of death, the finality of it. But not just that, also the possibility of a horrible death, having to linger and suffer, the intensity of pain. And just notice all that comes up in reaction. There may be fear. Let's just check in for that. Notice what fear means in the body. Notice how it shows up. There may be a change in the way the breathing takes place. There could be a change in the heartbeat, a speeding up of the pulse. There could be cold and clammy feeling on the skin. There could be so many reactions. Just notice. Notice also how the mind is reacting. Isn't there something more important you could be doing right? That's the voice of distraction. Maybe there's somebody that you know who recently died. Maybe there's an association or a memory that comes up. So just allow fear to be whatever comes up. And since it's here anyway, would you take that extra step of courage? Would you welcome it? Would you open up to it even further, invite it? Whatever is being felt. And yes, this may intensify the feelings a little bit, but maybe not. Just notice how that shows up for you. And notice if there's any rejection of this, any no, I don't want to feel this, I don't want to deal with this. Any pushing away, any holding on. Notice any resistance around the feeling of fear, fear of dying. And since that's here anyway, Could you allow that? Open to it as well. And then check. Does this feel personal? Because of course it does. And just allow that as best you can. Notice any associated feeling of should or shouldn't. You should feel this way, you shouldn't feel that way, whatever it is that came up. Any judgments. You're not a good releaser, you're a good releaser, whatever it is that came up, any judgment about this. And now let's take a slightly different course. Can you find the one who feels that way? Have a look around and see. Can you find that individual struggling against a cold and cruel world? Can you find that sense of the individual and whatever came up? Could you rest as that for a moment? And then when you're ready, could you let that go? Would you let that go? And when? One last try, one last attempt, one last pass. Think about death. Sounds ridiculous to say that, doesn't it? The last thing that you do want to think about normally. But just for now, could you allow that feeling, allow that awareness, allow death? Notice the reactions. Notice the mind. Have a good look around. Be curious. Notice the mind's reactions. The self-talk, the images, the sounds, the story, the memories, association. And then, when you're ready, check into the body. Notice what's happening there. Pay attention to any sense of discomfort. Look around for any cramping, tension, disease, discomfort. Take inventory of the body. Look around. Notice how it feels. Notice how it reacts to that topic, death. And then when you're ready, could you allow that? Could you open to that? Give it permission to be like, just for now, forever. And then, is any of this you? Are you those sensations in the body? Are you those thoughts, images, memories? Is that you? Or are you that which is aware of the activities of the mind, of the experiences of the body? And just allow that. Rest in that. Allow your beingness to be. Now, just for fun, here's a question. Does that beingness ever die? Was this beingness ever born? Sit with that for just a moment. Take a breath or two. And notice what is. Notice what is beyond the thought, beyond the sensations of the body. Notice what is beyond the possibility of death. And doesn't that feel like just the point to stop? That does feel good.